Thank you for staying with us. Activities are in top gear for the festive season. Most schools are on holidays and parents are now left with their children at home. Apart from the thrills and frills of the season, it is also a time to take parenting seriously and be alert. Joining me to discuss this is Director Le Posh Schools, Ronke Posh Adeni. Founder, Moma Hill Montessori School is Lagos is also here, Ochuku Prudence Daniels. Ladies, good morning. Compliments of the season.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me.
Right. Let's talk parenting, especially now that parents are with their children at home. We've seen, recent developments have raised concerns about how parents perhaps, handle their children. The recent case that we saw, the sad incident, we're talking about the bullying. Some will say parenting did not come with a manual, and so some parents are struggling to know how to take care or raise their kids. But this is an avenue where, now that you have the time with your kids, what should parents be doing? Perhaps let me begin with you.
Okay, good morning again. Good morning.
Yeah.
So when people say parenting does not have a manual, it's an ignorant statement.
Right.
It's a completely ignorant statement, because in this day and age, there's information overload. Go online, information is everywhere. Whilst everything is not 100%, at least you will get a good chunk of information out there to raise your kids. So that's very important, because we just quote things and repeat it. There is so much information. There's books, online courses. There are even people to follow online that will guide you and hold your hands. So we can't continue to say parenting does not have a handbook and then we'll get it wrong. Now we have the festive season. What is the plan that you have? You'd find that a lot of families, they have the nice Christmas clothes, they have the food, they have everything. But those are cosmetic. Those are not the real things. In fact, all those Christmas decorations, the actual celebrant does not even have a present. The actual Jesus, what are they giving him on that day? Everybody else is their hearts, yeah. So everybody is doing all that. But what we need to now focus on is the values. Now, this is the time when we get to know our children. For those of us our children are in boarding school, this is the time to communicate, to talk to them. What has happened, It's not the time for you to be shouting and screaming or going to parties and dumping them at play dates where they get abused. This is the time to review your family values. If you don't have, you need to have it. You have to have a family constitution. You have to have your mission, a vision. Be able to check and make sure that everything is okay. Your children must have an avenue to you as a parent. You must be available. And I'm not talking about being physically available and then being on Instagram and Facebook and you are not emotionally, mentally available to your children. This is the time where you can teach them so many things and they can learn so much from you. And you should play with your children. Because even as Maria Montessori said, play is the work of a child.
Play is the work of a child. Yeah. I'm sure you want to pick it from there.
Yeah, when she mentioned Maria Montessori, I think when you mentioned Montessori program, because that's what we practice. This is a time to really bond with your children. And I will scream respect, engagement, and then activities. Yeah, so as a parent, you want to get to know your children. Yes, you are working 9 to 5 and you don't have time for your children. This holiday season, don't take it for granted. It's a good opportunity to key into programs that can help draw you closer to your children. Get into play activities with them. Don't just, like some people dump them in family houses and expect that, oh, there are so many cousins, there's so many, there's so grandma, there's so many, go and play with everybody. No. You should also let your children know signals, danger signals to look out for in times like this, because they get to meet with a whole lot of people from different family groups. Values vary. So you need to let your children understand when there's, when he or she needs to raise an alarm. So for example, as a girl child, you can have codes where your child can speak to you and you need to get her aside to speak to take her away from danger. For little children, maybe you need to enable them to be able to say no to certain hugs from certain people. So you really need to get down with them and not just dump them in groups and go away thinking that there's so many people to look after your children. This is not the time. This is the time to
parents, bottom line, parents have to be sensitive to their kids.
Available,
available, and also have eagle-eyed, eagle-eyed to know that, okay, can sense danger and, you know, just be there for their kids basically. But let me come back to you, Ronke. You mentioned a lot of things that I jotted down. Talked about family constitution. And
it's early, isn't it? It's early. I know.
What do you mean when you talk about family constitution? You talked about communication. How can parents, you know, make the best use of this time to communicate with their kids? Because children, there's a way you communicate with children. They are not adults, so you should understand how to communicate with them. And then value. How do you use this time to inculcate value? So we take it one after the other. Let's begin with the Constitution, which is interesting to me.
Oh, okay, so if you have a nation, if you know, we talk about the national constitution, we talk about, so that is how you should run your own family. The same way that you run an organization or a business is the same way that you should run your family. And it might seem as if, oh, isn't that a bit too much?
Right.
But why are organizations successful and families are failing? Because they have a plan. If you fail to plan, what do they say? You are planning to fail. So you must ensure that there's order in your house. Yes, like a military camp, you should make sure that there's order in your house. That when your child goes out, your child represents your family. Who do their identities look like? How do they behave? Are they leaders? Are they people of excellence? Who do they represent? This is where you now begin to talk about the values that you mentioned. So if my child behaves in a manner and I say to her, is this how their identities behave? And she will auto-correct because she knows that it's not part of our values. We are people of integrity. So why are we telling our daughters to tell our children, our friends that tell her mommy is not around? You know, you're teaching the child to lie, but you know, modeling is more important. So those values are very important. So what are the values that you have in your family? Do you know them? Do your children know them? Is it visible anywhere? What sort of people are you? So in schools, you will find that people will, even organizations, they will make you cram the values. They will make you know what the values are. But in your home, you stand for nothing. And if you don't have those values, you're going to fall for anything. Your children will fall for anything.
It's like the foundation.
Yeah. Even this abuse that Ojuko just mentioned now, if your children already know about these cases, then it won't happen. Even from all this family, going to family places and blah, 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 that family that you're dumping your kids in, if you have to be over telling your children, be careful, don't let Uncle Kenny come touch you, then that environment is already unsafe. You know. Yet people
so why take them there?
But
you know how we are in this society. Bring your children to our house.
Bring your children to our house at your own risk. It's not by force. You know, we are so sentimental about everything. Very, very sentimental. We do these things. Is that same? Because abusers are not strangers. Abusers are usually those family members that you are trying to honor. They are the ones that will sexually, verbally, emotionally, physically abuse those children, and those children have to deal with it for the rest of their life. Some of them don't even recover. It affects their relationships, their jobs, all sorts of things. They have a spiraling effect for the rest of their life, yet you'll be saying family. So many of the family members are dangerous. I'm happy to spend Christmas with my daughter and my husband and 3 of us in the house. It's okay. I don't want any stories that touch. You talked about communication. How do children communicate with you as a parent? Are you available? Like I said, this phone, one of the they used to say it was a TV that was the devil's box. This is now the devil's box. This is the one that parents will be in the house, but they're not in the house. Because they're slaying on Instagram. You know, they're on. Even that is slay these days. You know, they're all on Instagram. So they're not available to these children. So they try to talk to them. You know, they're not there. So I tell my daughter, because I do a lot of work also online. I tell her, if you need my attention and this thing is in the way, just tell me instantly that, mommy, you said the phone. When you're coming down for dinner, I leave the phone upstairs because I love my phone. I do so much on my phone, and you know, me and my own is parenting and education. Not as I'm slaying I slay small. But the important thing is that this should not be in the way. Even it should be part of the rules in your house.
Nothing should be in the way.
Your children are the most important. They're more important than what is going on out there. The person that is closest to you, you don't have time, but you have your undivided attention with strangers that don't care because you are looking for likes, looking for what? Fame, looking for what? So these children, the minute you say you are going to bring them to the world, you must be mentally and emotionally available to them. If you are ill, it's a different case. So if you have a breakdown or something happened to you, these are extreme cases. But if you are whole, spirit, soul, and body, then you have to give them undivided attention. We should stop populating if we're not going to have time for our children.
We know that those days our mothers had the time. They were always available. And all of a sudden we just found ourselves in a situation where parents were no longer available. And that perhaps was the beginning of where we began to lose our values and respect. You mentioned respect, and some would say, what is respect? Respect is reciprocal. How do you begin to tell a child you must learn respect? How do you ensure they learn respect?
Okay, so in our culture, it's the other way around. We scream respect on children and have them respect everybody, but we disrespect them a lot. And I want to, yes, and I want to say that just like you said, respect is reciprocal. We need to begin to show respect to our children. Like Ronke said, we involve them. How do you lay down rules that the children did not, you did not seek their opinion to set up?
But you know, the society we find ourselves, saying a parent should respect their children might sound strange.
Yes, so that's why we're having this conversation. We need to begin to intentionally respect our children.
How do they do that?
How do we do that? You greet them first. Because children, they absorb in mind. They only copy what they see. They absorb. That's what they learn. What they know in life is you model what your children should be, actually.
Right.
So if you greet them in the morning, over time, I tell parents at my school, greet your children consistently for 2 weeks. You'll be shocked. They'll pick it up and greet you even better than you did. Yes, so
2 weeks.
Yes, greet them consistent. How you want them to greet you, greet them like that for 2 weeks, and you'll be shocked. Even as little as 2-year-old, they'll pick it up and they'll do it even better. So respect, you need to model what it is you want to see in them, and then they'll play it back at you.
Be a role model,
yes,
basically.
That's it. In everything, in your communication. If you are shouting at home, your children will end up being shouters at people out there. Yes, they'll shout at others. But if you speak respectfully to them, they'll also speak respectfully. If you speak, if you use the magic words, they'll also use them. So it's not, there is no manual. You are the model. And then you have to set, okay, I always say that don't set rules. Don't set rules, because the children don't hear don't. Rather, have conversations, discuss consequences, so they know when you do this, this is what happens. And they're able to
but perhaps we need to segment this conversation, because there are some children who are, will term young adults. They are teenagers. Are we going to approach it the same way for teenagers as well? Okay,
so teenagers are reasoning already. Yes. There are categories of children who are like 0 to 6, and from 6 to like the end of childhood. They are reasoning already. So for children who are reasoning, you need to have them see cause and effects. So have bargains, have some kind of rewards. Montessori preaches intrinsic reward, not extrinsic, but
break it down.
Having internal rewards, like when a child does a task, they're satisfied from having achieved that goal or done the task. They're satisfied from within, and that motivation gets them to do more. When you praise them too much, they begin to depend on that praise for a next task, or anytime they do something, they're waiting for you to validate. So they need internal validation. Right. So I say, for me, I would give a whole lot of activities so that when they see how much they're able to do, your role will be to encourage them. Oh, you can do this, and then set the ball rolling. And once you do that, the children are able to achieve, and as they achieve, they're happy within them, and they want to do more. They actually now bring their projects to you and invite you to be part of their project. Interesting. So it's more interesting when you do it that way.
Right. Let's still look at teenagers and Ronke Poch. When you talk about, some parents, they begin to see vices in their children. That's for those who pay attention. How can they begin to perhaps change or turn things around for teenagers now? Speaking about teenagers, how can they make them see reason to leave certain activities or behaviors? And like she pointed out, what do you benefit from it? Talk to them.
You see, when the foundation is right, the teenage years is easy. So for those that are coming up, let me just tell them that start right. The teenage years are going to be challenging, but if you have done a good job, it just continues because you've already built that.
Yeah.
So the child continues that behavior. You have a child that is giving you challenges. Maybe that child is constantly online or things like that. Modeling is very important. When you yourself are online, you're telling your child not to be online. How does that work? These days, your child will even tell you, but mommy, you are also online also. So modeling is very important. Having those conversations. Now, you cannot tell a child to do something they don't understand in this day and age. Whatever you say they shouldn't do, tell them the reason why. Let them understand the reason why. So we can't tell the children, oh, don't have sex because don't speak to boys because you will get pregnant. When they know that when they speak to boys in the classroom, they don't get pregnant. It doesn't make any sense. Those sort of bees and things that they used to tell us those days, they don't work anymore. So what you need to tell the child is the actual facts. A lot of parents are afraid to tell their children heavy stuff. Yeah. You know, you must equip yourself in such a way that you can tell them stuff. There are so many resources online that you can have a conversation. Conversation starter. There are books as well that they will ask you questions. As long as you're not one of those parents that doesn't want to say, you keep coding things. So tell them, if you take drugs, this is what happened to you. Show them videos. This is why I don't want you to do it. Let them understand what you're saying, because when you tell one lie, tell two lies, trust me, after a while you're already the liar in the house. They know that whatever you say is just, you know, water on the horse's back. They don't really care. So we must be honest with our children and have the difficult conversations.
Have the difficult conversations, be honest with them, get involved with your children at this period and get to know them better. Thank you so much, Director Laposh School, Suronke Poshadini, as well as founder, Moma Hill Montessori School, Lagos, Ochuko Prudence Daniels. Ladies, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.